KJ joining me now on the show to have his say. KJ, welcome back. Horrible night tonight. Give me your thoughts on the game overall, mate. Tonight, first of all.
Was we even here to play football? Because what I saw was a training game for Bayern Munich against some random team from England. That's what I saw. You would have thought both teams would have been already qualified for the Champions League knockout stages, and they're just having a little jolly up. You know what I mean? Maybe a little special friendly between Munich and United. As we know, we've got a special relationship with that club. Today was pitiful, really. Again, I don't mind going out of the Champions League because I'm glad the embarrassment can stop in Europe now. It's over. That pain of the season is done. So I'm grateful for that. But these players, aren't you guys, gonna act like you need to do something? Like, are they not gonna get up for a game where you can prove that you actually have some kind of cohesion or talent or something about you guys? Honestly, everyone on the pitch today was like a 4. You know, that's how it was. Just pitiful. It's just literally deflating because none of them. I don't want to say none of them tried. I believe they tried, but I don't think they believed they was gonna win. So it was kind of like subconsciously, you saw it on the pitch.
What you saw was a team that, when they were playing compact, looked relatively comfortable, but they didn't want to overly attack. And by the way, I think they were right not to go gun ho from the beginning. That would have been suicide because Bayern Munich, the pace and the skill and the quality they have with the Kingsley Comans, Kanes, Musialas, Davises, if we'd have gone all out attack and been bombing into that box from the first minute, we would have got absolutely ripped to shreds. So I think that approach was correct. But the longer the game went on, the more we lacked belief. And then as soon as they scored, around the 70th minute, you saw the heads drop of the players. It had gone around the stadium already that Copenhagen were already winning, and they just didn't believe.
You say it was correct, and I get that. I understand them not opening up, but do you think if this was Copenhagen or Galatasaray needing a win against Bayern Munich at home to go through to the next round of the Champions League, they would just sit back and do nothing with selecting when you attack and selecting when you go full throttle? But at no point did I feel like we was threatening, we was going to score, that we was going to do anything to this Bayern Munich team. And that's why I'm questioning the team, because I'm just like I guarantee you Galatasaray and Copenhagen would fight so hard to try and get anything out of that game to go through tonight. And we didn't do that. Luton has been playing and putting up a better fight in all of their games recently than we have. And look at the team that we have.
Mate,
so,
I think. Listen, I totally get where we see it differently, but I do completely understand where it is you are coming from. I put it down to. I'm going to agree with your situation for a moment. They haven't trained this. Man United don't train because we know we don't train to do this because we don't play like it. And I know there's a lot of people that love Ten Hag still, and they hate hearing this. But we don't train to attack and then work hard to get back into a compact shape. Do you know how I know we don't train to do that? Because we haven't done it in a single game all season. So tonight, like, the players are trying to do it, but there comes a thing of, and I don't know if muscle memory is the right word, but whenever I used to train, whether it was sort of fighting, or whether it was the katas we used to have to do at competitions, if my coach ever saw us going through the motions, he'd fume at us. He said, you have to train every single minute like you're competing to almost create this like muscle memory so that your body knows this is the right stances to be in, this is the right actions to have, this is what to do in those moments. There was very little training we did that was light work, unless it was warm-ups or warm-downs. Everything else was very intense. And I look at the players tonight and how intense could they have been in an attack, but also having to have been compact to stop Bayern Munich when we barely do it. It becomes alien to you. And it's happened to us already this season once when we changed our system against Brighton. And a few of the players have come out and said since, they're all shocked. Well, the stories have come out. They were just suddenly shocked that out of nowhere, a new system they haven't trained for was being used. And I know people love him, but that comes down to the manager for me. So listen, maybe you're absolutely spot on with that, mate. It makes a lot of sense. Let's have a look at some of these super chats that have come in here, and we'll come back to some other talking points here. Anybody thinking Terry is an Arsenal fan, just watch his eyes. I feel you, mate, because I was like this for 18 years. You need an Edu Arteta. Listen, I can take the only people that call me an Arsenal fan are individuals that cannot debunk the things that I say. It is a cheap shot. Some people do it for a laugh, and their viewers that I like, but it's a cheap shot, bit of dead banter that doesn't debunk anything that I say. Of course, I'm a Man United fan in every single capacity, and I'm disappointed. But I'm more disappointed, if I'm being honest, at people burying their heads in the sand again. I'm disappointed. And there's a comment here. Nav, look, you're a long-time subscriber, so please take this a member. Please take this with the respect it's meant from. He says, even when Lee tried to explain to you, you tried to shut him down, even though he had some good points. I said Lee had some good points, first of all. And I said that Lee could be right about things. So first of all, that's not shutting somebody down. That is listening. That is understanding where they're coming from. But what I would say to you about Lee is this. Lee said it at the end of the show. I don't know if you got there. He doesn't believe that Ten Hag should stay. He agrees with me he should be sacked. He just thinks I'm being hypocritical because I also don't think Arteta should be sacked. He doesn't agree with anything to do with keeping Ten Hag. He thinks he should be sacked. He was being facetious in his challenges to me. The difference is, and I'll answer it again very quickly, I don't see the situations as the same. Therefore, why would my opinion be the same? I don't treat every situation in a sort of monolith way where, well, it's a manager struggling. Therefore, we have to stick with him because Arteta's doing okay now. That cannot. You can't have the same approach for every team, every club, every situation at the same time. You just have to look at the situation for itself. And I believe, looking at what Ten Hag done, that's just how I feel, Nev. I don't think he's going to turn this round, brother. But what I'll say is this: if I'm wrong and he does, you won't see anybody happier and anybody hold their hands up quicker than me, because I don't want to be right. It's just what I believe, brother. Josh here says the apathy has fully set in. Wake me up with Sir Jim Radcliffe takes over and Paul Mitchell is appointed. We need leadership at our club. Rock bottom next game. Yeah, Josh, listen, I feel you, mate. I genuinely feel you, my friend. I feel as much pain as in me as I can read in that super chat from you, bro. Only City carrying the flag for the Premier League in Europe. Are we missing Liverpool and Chelsea? The yo-yo clubs should not be allowed to participate in the Champions League. Glazers in. Well,
Arsenal haven't embarrassed us this year.
Well, Arsenal Arsenal top of their group. Newcastle, we'll see what they do tomorrow, but Newcastle are in a very different circle. United have embarrassed English football. We've embarrassed ourselves and we've embarrassed Englich football. But you say, should Chelsea be there? What, the team that are 12? Liverpool, I get, but at the same time, you could stretch that opinion further, couldn't you? And say, well, Liverpool having a bad season last year and then therefore not representing us and allowing the Man United and the Newcastles in, maybe they should be the ones who bear the brunt of that. How far do you stretch that opinion? So I hear where you're coming from, but Man United have been an embarrassment. Onana's at fault from United's Champions League exits, many errors. Do you agree with that? Do you put it all on Onana, as this super chat suggests, KJ?
No. It's not all on him. It's a good 40%. 40% Ten Hag, 40% Onana, and then like 20% the rest of them. His mistakes directly cost us so many games, and it's frustrating because I really wanted him to work out well, and he's just not settled in at all to this club. And then Ten Hag's tactics throughout the whole season have not been good enough, so that's where they were 4 years. And it's just the rest of the team. Like, you got to look at look at our wingers. Can I speak on the wingers? Our wingers are dreadful. They can't beat a man. If they do beat a man, it's difficult. You know, if they don't breeze past players, it's a very hard struggle for them to sprint at full speed and beat a guy. They don't put crosses in. Ironically, our best cross today came from Aaron Wan-Bissaka, of all people, to Bruno when he should have scored. Should have got a shot on target. And they just don't do anything. What is the point of playing wide players if you're not going to beat a man, put a ball in, or be a threat in the box and score goals? Like, honestly, we're having a go at Rashford all season, and rightly so. He's been dreadful. But Anthony has just, like, we're praising him for 4 out of 10s. That's how bad he is.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I look at Anthony. I've had a lot to say about him. Absolutely horrendous signing. Can't beat anybody. Has no explosive power. doesn't cross the ball. We don't get any. We got one early cross into the box tonight as well, and Garnacho did it on his left foot. First time he did it all game. Every other time he tried to beat somebody, and he couldn't do it tonight. He had a terrible night, Garnacho. But the one time he just went, I'm going to cross it first time, it forced a very good clearance from Kim, but it had them stretched. And you look at it, and again, I think about two things that are wrong with this team. Early balls into the box that stop the defenders from being able to set. We should be put in maybe not against Bayern Munich because they're a brilliant team, but in the average game, we should be doing that 10 to 15 times. Look at the goals that Tottenham scored the other day. Look how many cutback goals on Sunday they scored all season. We barely do them, where you get in and either first time or as soon as you beat the man, whip that ball across the 6-yard box. We're not doing it for Rasmus Højlund. We're not doing it for our strikers. And that's every single winger at this club. At the same time, though, I look at Garnacho, and he's a player I was so excited about last year. Scored that great overhead kick, scored that great goal away at Galatasaray. But he is following a similar pattern to nearly every other single young player that's come through our academy in the last decade, because of the lack of system, because of the lack of progression as a club, because of the poisonous nature. He's going backwards. I'm watching him, I'm going, where's the progression? Now, I know some people don't rate him, and that's fair, but he's a player that I saw something special in. And do you know who I'm really scared for right now? I look at young Kobe. He came on and looked great. But I know what's going to happen if we don't improve as a football club. He is going to go backwards, because every single person does, especially the technically gifted players. And that's where me and Staffy agree. How can every single technician, every single skillful player within a year, 2, 3 at Man United all look awful? My big issues with the likes of Anthony, who played tonight, and others like him, is he's never really looked good. He scored a few goals. He never looked good. He hasn't had anything to regress from. He's just been poor. But you are right. Our wide players at Man United are an absolute disgrace. And there's a super chat here, a member chat from Brian. No Man United forward has scored a goal at Old Trafford since May. And look, I thought that Kim Min-jae and Upamecano absolutely pocketed Rasmus Højlund tonight, and partly he had a poor game. Secondly, those two were absolutely top class, and they took him out of the match. But I don't want to speak about today's game and our Champions League campaign in a vacuum of tonight, because he's one of the top goal scorers in the competition, Rasmus Højlund. So tonight he was poor. Tonight he was pocketed. But overall, when we've created chances for him in this competition, he scored. We barely create chances for him across the board. So he is raw, and he's got a lot of learning to do, and he has to take his medicine and his criticism. But how often are we creating actual opportunities for him as a team? It is so few. And I think the manager's changed the system to try and do that. He wants the players putting more crosses into the box. I think that's why Rashford's thrown his toys out of his pram. But it just isn't working. So there's so many things wrong with us right now. System, a lack of compactness. We have so many inside forwards that all want to score goals. They don't want to be creators. So the manager's asking them to play in a way that they're not accustomed to, and that's not their game. And he's bought a striker that needs creativity from his wide players, but he didn't buy the wide players to make the creativity.
And he's banished the one creative winger that we have. He's banished. Into
Sancho's the one guy that you could look at and say he is the creator, not the goal scorer per se. And he's the one who's been banished. And look, there may be good reason for that, but you look at the overarching situation, and it's not all Ten Hag's fault. It's not all Rasmus Højlund's fault. It's not Onana's fault. This is a collective cock-up by Man United Football Club again, by the owners again, and the way we're run. They've allowed an imbalanced squad to be built to try and play a style of football that it is not capable of playing, with a manager who is all at sea and lost in terms of what he's doing. We know player power still exists. We know there are still players at this club, Luke Shaw's, Maguire's, Scott McTominay's, all should have been sold years ago. We should be looking for a much higher technical gifted level of players, less injury-prone nature. There's all these things that have played a part. And just watching the game tonight, I've kind of zoned out at times, just sort of watching it. And that's all I could think is, why have we started with Johnny Evans coming on when there's injuries, AWB coming on with injuries, young players that are like Palestri who are not good enough for Man United coming on, £90 million players that are not good enough, a lack of system, a manager that just, in my opinion, is drowning. And I just looked at it and thought, what a mess. What a mess we are.
You know what's crazy? When that Bayern lineup came out, I looked at it, I was like, flipping out. Look at the balance. You looked at that team and you knew exactly what each member of the team is supposed to do. You can see the balance. Goretzka and Kimmich complement each other. The wingers can beat men, put balls in or cut inside, complement each other. Musiala and Kane complement each other. The back two today, that upset. The reason why the back two today upset me, because Kim Min-jae is a player that we should have bought. He should be in on our side of the pitch if we was run correctly. Because what a player, what a defender. He was perfect today. Upamecano, he gets called a bozo a lot. Today, flawless. And then you got, obviously, I think the greatest goalkeeper that I've ever seen in the modern day, Emmanuel Neuer in nets. And you know what's funny? How they've kept one goalkeeper for so long without the decline. He's had shaky moments, yes, injuries, yes. But look at what happened to De Gea over the years. Decline.
But they're so well run. Did you see the bit on tonight? I was watching it on BT Sport where they zoomed in on, I think it's a physio, and Owen Hargreaves. He was Owen Hargreaves' youth physio, and Owen Hargreaves is such a well-run club. People behind the scenes stay there for years and years and years and years, and they maintain the standards and they maintain the culture of the football club. And when things go wrong, big heads move and they roll when people make big mistakes at that football club, and they rectify mistakes quickly. And that's just it. And that's where Man United are not. We don't rectify mistakes quickly. We don't stop stupidity quickly. And it manifests itself into what we have just witnessed as a Champions League campaign. And, you know, tonight, I had no faith in us winning the game tonight. I did think we'd get smashed. I did golden goals with BetMGM, and I went 4-2 Bayern Munich.
I said 5-0 Bayern. You know what I'm saying?
Because I didn't expect us to play so compact. I expected us to go out there and be open from the beginning, score some goals through being very aggressive, but get caught plenty of times. But strangely enough, it's annoyed me more that we were compact. Not because, just because we showed we could do it, and we should be doing that in loads of moments in games all season, and we'd have a very different looking season if we could have been compact at the right times this campaign. And I know I'm talking bigger picture than one game on this full fan highlight show, but for me, it's crazy.